Hi Delphi friends, welcome to How It Works with Holger, another web-focused episode. And I should say this is not going to be one episode, this is going to be a major series. We're going to talk about web deployment. And I'm going to assume that you're rather new to the web and haven't that much experience with web development. And thus, I'm going to really start at the beginning, why and what is deployment? Because I have talked to a lot of Delphi developers on occasions and they say, hey, what is the difference between a Delphi binary and why are web applications supposedly so difficult to deploy? And that is a lot of misinformation, also because Delphi web development has had development in recent years. It has become modernized and we've learned from our mistakes. So with TMS WEB Core, deployment is not as difficult as it seems. However, you have to understand the basic concepts about web applications and in particular how TMS WEB Core web applications work at the core, and then it is much easier to comprehend the different scenarios that might come up on your horizon. Because you want to be able to deploy on Windows servers, on Linux servers, or you might even want to deploy on Docker servers or into Docker containers, I should say. And the biggest one that most people struggle with, I haven't had a single customer who was like, oh, well, HTTPS, that was easy. No, that's usually not the case. So HTTP means it's unencrypted, you don't need any SSL certificate, and HTTPS requires an SSL certificate. However, in recent years, or I should say in the last 2 years, there have been major advancements. As you will see in the future of this series, it's not that difficult anymore, neither on Windows nor on Linux. It's really easy. And the reason for that are reverse proxies, which handle the HTTPS, and you can keep your development completely in HTTP, and just when you deploy it to your server, it will be HTTPS. If this sounds all a bit confusing, don't worry, we're going to take it step by step. And also TMS helps us significantly because not only one, they provide two solutions when we have a backend with databases. Databases are not the requirement here, by the way. An Xdata server, for example, can have backend functionality that does not require a database. For example, if you offer calculation services or analysis of numbers, that does not mean that you have a database, that you just have a certain algorithm on your backend. So a database is not a requirement, but StellarDS, of course, is the database solution from TMS on the backend that you don't need to write your own backend. StellarDS works like a database as in any previews of your Delphi applications. So we're going to look at StellarDS and Xdata, and Xdata brings into the mix something peculiar because Xdata applications by default are Windows VCL applications. So a lot of people think, oh, well, that means I need a Windows server to deploy Xdata. No, that's not correct. Xdata can also be compiled to Linux if you have the Delphi version that supports Linux. I'm going to show this with a virtual server on ionis.com. And of course, you can create your own virtual machine. I don't know if I'll put in one episode where I show you how you can create a virtual machine or not. But the thing is, the virtual server from ionis.com, why I picked them is they offer both server sites in the United States and in Europe. So the Delphi customer base is pretty much covered because a lot of customers require servers that are hosted in Europe and some customers want servers that are hosted in the United States. So Ionis covers those well. And also their virtual servers are really attractive with regards to prices. And I should say I'm not sponsored or endorsed by them. It's just a choice that I made because when I grew up in Germany, and this company has been with me my whole life, and I feel rather comfortable with them, using their products, their dashboards and all that kind of stuff. Any other virtual server product, of course, is working as well. I just picked this one because I use those myself during my daily work. I am not gonna mince words here. If you have zero experience with web applications, the road ahead is dark and windy. You know, it might be a little bit complicated. However, it will clear up sooner or later if you watch a couple of my videos, and everything become much, much clearer. And in the end, you can enjoy vacation days at the beach without having to worry if you deployed your web applications correctly, if everything is secure. Because if you follow this, you will be able to deploy your TMS WEB Core applications like a champion, be it with a TMS X Data backend or a Stellar DS backend.